Chapter 18, Food Safety. Foodborne illness. Foodborne illnesses are a significant threat to public health. Foodborne illnesses outbreak and what that means, 2 or more people become ill after ingesting the same food with lab analysis. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, estimates there are 48 million cases, 125,000 hospitalizations, and 300 deaths are reported annually from foodborne illnesses. Children, older adults, pregnant women, and persons with weakened immune systems are at the highest risk for foodborne illnesses. And most are caused by home-cooked meals. The majority of foodborne illnesses are caused by Campylobacter, raw or undercooked poultry, raw dairy products, and contaminated produce cause these issues. Salmonella, ingestion of food contaminated by animal feces or by human feces. E. coli, commonly found in the lower intestine of warm-blooded organisms, and most E. coli strains are harmless, but some can cause serious food poisoning in their host and are occasionally responsible for product recalls due to food contamination. And Vibrio, bacteria found in water that's between seawater and fresh water, is caused by ingestion of raw or uncooked seafood, usually oysters. And so you can find a list of illnesses caused by a variety of bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi on page 456 of your book. Most of these foodborne illnesses cause gastrointestinal symptoms such as severe diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, as well as headache and low-grade fever. Problems can often be prevented by adhering to proper cooking and storage recommendations. So here's a list of the changes and incidence of laboratory-confirmed bacterial infections in the U.S., and you can see that Campylobacter was up 14%, Salmonella up 3%, and then Vibrio was up 43%. So that was the biggest increase in 2012. So foods most commonly involved in foodborne illnesses include, and these are in order of the percentage of contamination: seafood, eggs, beef, including ground beef and jerky, fresh produce like melons, berries, onions, sprouts, and cilantro, poultry, unpasteurized dairy products, wild game, and unpasteurized juice. So why is foodborne illness more common today? There are several factors. The number of imported foods is increasing, especially fresh produce, coming from places like South America, Mexico. Food production is more centralized and large scale rather than from small farms. There's a demand for processed food that's getting greater because of working families and busy schedules. And people are eating out more often. So food contamination. Foods can be contaminated from a variety of sources, and you can see more detail regarding this on page 456 of your textbook. So the 3 varieties are bacteria, parasites, viruses, mold, and yeast; chemicals such as pesticides, cleaning products, and metals; physical items such as dirt, insects, hair, plastic, rodent droppings, and/or glass. So let's talk about the conditions for bacterial growth. Conditions that are favorable for bacterial growth include a source of nutrients, and bacteria prefer meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, milk, and dairy products. Oxygen, some types of bacteria need it, some do not. Water. They grow best in high moisture foods. Temperature. The highest hazard zone area is between 40 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and they grow best at those temperatures. Time, one cell can become 1 million in less than 5 hours. And acidity, they prefer near neutral, a pH factor of 7.0. And this is a picture of Campylobacter. So contamination conditions, food infections caused by food with large amounts of live bacteria. Symptoms develop in 12 to 24 hours ingested, and that gives the bacteria enough time to multiply, enough that they cause illness. Food intoxication, the food contains bacterial toxins. Symptoms develop in 1 to 6 hours, except botulism, which takes 8 to 36 hours. And botulism is a rare and potentially fatal illness caused by a toxin produced by a certain type of bacteria. The disease begins with weakness, blurred vision, feeling tired, having trouble speaking, and this may be followed by weakness of arms, chest, and legs. And in this slide you can see a picture of the bacteria that causes botulism. So how do we keep food safe? More than 85% of foodborne illnesses can be prevented through careful attention to personal hygiene, proper handling and storage of food, following proper cooking practices. And so here you can see a logo that's Fight Back, which means fight bacteria, keep food safe from bacteria. And you can see that their recommendations are to clean, to separate, to cook, and to chill. So let's look in detail at these components of prevention of foodborne illnesses. So personal health and hygiene, we want to make sure that if you're preparing food, that you have a negative tuberculosis test. You have an health examination and especially focus on checking for hepatitis. You need to be free from infectious disease within the last 24 hours. So make sure you don't have a cold, flu, sore throat, or diarrhea. Diarrhea is very contagious. Make sure you're not chewing gum or smoking as you're preparing food. You wear clean clothes and an apron. Cover your hair. Make sure you have short, unpolished, and clean nails. Remove jewelry and follow proper hand washing techniques. And you want to do this for children too. And you can find those techniques on page 460 of your book. And some of the key things you need to keep in mind when it comes to hand washing is you want to make sure that you rub and make bubbles with the soap, because the bubbles are what captures the foodborne causes of illness, the bacteria, the viruses, the dirt, etc. And you want to make sure that you do it for 10 to 20 seconds, and then make sure you rub as you rinse as well. So hepatitis, some specifics about this. Diagnosis of hepatitis requires a blood test. Hepatitis and A and B are both an infectious disease that affects the liver. In A, usually spread by eating food or drinking water contaminated with infected feces. It may also spread through close contact with an infectious person. Shellfish, which has not been sufficiently cooked, are a relatively common source. In many cases have few or no symptoms, especially in the young. The time between infection and symptoms in those who develop them is between 2 and 6 weeks. When symptoms happen, they typically last 8 weeks and may include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, jaundice, which is a yellowing of the eyes and skin, fever, and abdominal pain. For hepatitis B, the transmission is exposure to infectious blood or body fluids. Many people have no symptoms during the initial infection, but some develop a rapid onset of sickness with vomiting, yellowish skin, tiredness, dark urine, and abdominal pain. Another way we can prevent foodborne illnesses is proper handling and storage of food. So we want to make sure that we inspect meats and raw produce carefully, avoid breaks in packaging, pay attention to the use-by dates, inspect eggs for cracks, check produce for spoilage and bruising, and refrigerate quickly. We want to refrigerate at temperatures of 40 degrees in the refrigerator and 0 in, and this is Fahrenheit, 0 in the freezer. So we also want to properly handle and store food, so only use pasteurized products. Make sure that you take away the pesticide risks by looking at the list of products on page 468 where there are issues with pesticides. Wash off the ends of cans before you open them. Sanitize food preparation areas. So first you wash with soap and water and rinse them, and then sanitize with bleach solution. And bleach solution is the one best way to sanitize. Other products that claim they're antibacterial do not work as well as bleach solution. Prevent cross-contamination with separate food preparation areas and color code things. So cut your produce on a different cutting board than your meat and raw poultry. You can see in the photo, the produce is on the yellow cutting board and the meat is on the white cutting board. Clean and sanitize the sink, faucet, and drain after working with raw meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Set up a cleaning schedule and follow that, and you can see an example of that on page 462 of your book. And make sure that you utilize or you follow sanitary conditions, and there's a checklist that can help you do that on page 463. And all of your food service areas before and after service should be, again, washed with soap and water, rinsed, and then sanitized with bleach solution. And so finally, we want to follow proper cooking practices. So we defrost foods in the refrigerator or under cool water or in the microwave, never out on the counter. We cook to proper temperatures. And here you have a poster that gives us some of those proper temperatures. Is it done yet? And so when it comes to beef, 145 degrees Fahrenheit in the center, and other products are listed there as well, like egg dishes, 160 Fahrenheit in the center. So transporting and serving safely, we want to cover the food to maintain temperature. Each bowl should have its own spoon. Spoon should not touch the plates. And then once served, it cannot be saved except for fresh fruits and vegetables. And those you can wash and cook later. But they shouldn't be served raw. So you can see a series of food handling videos on the U.S. Department of Agriculture website, the USDA, and there's one on clean, separate, cook, and chill, and you may have to copy and paste these in if you can't click on it within the PowerPoint, but these are good for you to see. So an important step in preventing foodborne illnesses is knowing about the organisms that cause sickness and the effective prevention measures. So make sure you review the information in Table 18-1 on page 474. Here you can find out all the information you need to know to learn how foodborne pathogens are spread and how they can be controlled. So then let's talk about the food safety system. So there is a system called the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, or HACCP, and this is a step-by-step system for preventing or reducing potential contamination of food at key points. And you can find a pictorial depiction of this on page 471 of your textbook. So commercial food safety measures. Food processors and manufacturers employ a variety of food safety precautionary measures. They might utilize ultra-high temperatures, UHT. They might steam pasteurize, and the heat of the pasteurization is meant to destroy organisms. They may irradiate food with gamma rays or electronic beams. They may use electrostatic spraying with natural acids and oils. They might rapidly chill and freeze food, or they'll use improved animal practices.